What's up, everyone, and welcome back to a brand new episode of the True North Racing Podcast presented by Driving with Haley. I'm your host, John Morrison. Before we even get into the intro or anything like that, I wanted to take a moment and thank you from the bottom of my heart for the last 4 years of the True North Racing Podcast, for the 2 seasons we will have of the driver's seat, and the 1 season we will have of Racing Through Canada's Past. It has been an absolute honor and a privilege over the last 4 years to be able to get to do something that I've absolutely loved. At the end of this season, those 3 podcasts will no longer continue into the 2026 year. I am planning on restructuring Jomo Media just a little bit for a little bit of time, where I'm going to be focusing more on the promotion side and not so much the podcasts like I have been. With that being said, the podcast I'm hoping to bring back in a couple years. And if not, it has been an absolute honor. It has been an absolute privilege. And I thank you from the bottom of my heart for everyone who's tuned in, shared, joined us as a guest, and just supported the show. I appreciate you from the bottom of my heart. And let's go out on such a strong note when we get to November after our Champions episodes. Thank you.
Welcome to the True North Racing Podcast, your go-to show for all things racing from coast to coast. We're here to chat with your favorite racers and bring you the latest from the world of short track racing. Hosted by John Morrison and Brandon Feeney. Get ready for fast cars, big personalities, and all the racing action you can handle. Ready? Green, green, green.
What's up, everyone, and welcome back to a brand new episode of the True North Racing Podcast presented by Driving with Haley. I'm your host, John Morrison. Joining me, as always, is our co-host, Brandon Feeney. Brandon, how are you, buddy?
I'm tired. Busy week. Setting up a
Busy
lot of
week.
stuff.
It's been a busy 2 weeks for you, buddy. Let's
3 weeks if you go back to put
3
the mod
weeks.
together.
That's
But yeah, put the
what
mod
I
together.
mean. 3
did the
weeks. Yeah, I
show.
guess 3 weeks. Yeah.
Charity's basically ready for the body work. Then she's getting ready to go to Sean Scrat to get a one of a kind. I've seen a couple drawings of what he wants to do to this car. It might not have to race if it looks as good as the drawings do. We're talking like we might put in Motorama as just a tuner section next year, not even a race car.
As long as it stays nice and clean, right?
Well, I said if it's too nice, maybe I'll just have to drive it and not let people drive it. But
Oh boy. But speaking of before we continue on, of course, we're gonna jump right into our Pets Pro Painting opening segment. We got to thank Jay and Pets Pro Painting for being the presenting sponsor of our opening segment, where we talk for the next about 10-15 minutes of just absolute randomness, either racing related or non-racing related. But because we got Motorama last weekend, we're going to dive right into that and talk more about how the weekend went. And, if you guys didn't hear us, weren't at the show last weekend, you missed a doozy of some programs, but of
and
course,
a lot of jerky.
thanks to Nathaniel Greenaway. But you guys are going to hear all those interviews that we've had over the course of the weekend. We've already uploaded 2. We got our podcasters race uploaded as well. Brandon Feeney's now a 3-time champion because he got to cheat this year because he was in the podcasters and in the racers pool. So he cheated on that.
Yeah, so he says I cheated, but realistically his camera sucks because he's lying. I didn't actually cheat, right? I won the podcasters race. John personally handicaps me, so that way I had to start farther behind the racers, and then freaking I still ended up winning because Wally oversent it. And then me and Nathaniel Greenway freaking we're racing at the end. They're bumping shoulders trying to, but yeah, I think I won by 2 laps that last one.
Yeah, I think you did. I think you did. Honestly though, man, Motorama is always so much fun. It's such a great time to be able to go out there and spend it with our racing family and be able to get to see them before, we all go to our respective tracks and we go racing this summer.
Yeah, going and like this year being so busy because like I double booked myself like an idiot, and we were with the podcaster things and doing the race car things, plus like walking around the show trying to talk to sponsors and stuff. But you know what? We had a great time. Like I think honestly, we probably could have done 30 interviews if your voice lasted.
Yeah, that was the only problem is Sunday morning I woke up and I could feel it. Jacqueline and I picked up some hauls on the Saturday night after we dropped Cam off back at home in Scarborough, and we stopped off at Walmart, picked up some hauls. Didn't do the trick, unfortunately. Did drink some hot chocolate. I'm not a tea guy. I'm not a coffee guy, so I was hoping hot chocolate would do the trick. It helped a little bit. Jacqueline told me to shut up between shows,
That
and
doesn't happen with you.
we did that for the most part, which was fine. But
And then you wore
honest,
an ice cream.
and then I wear yeah. Then of course on Sunday I wore an ice cream, which wasn't my fault. The ice cream just wasn't sitting right in the cone, and I was trying to give Nathaniel some ice cream, and because he was so nice to give us so much jerky over the weekend. We paid for a lot of it, but also the tester stuff that we did on stage. I kind of want to treat him back a little bit, and friggin' ice cream falls all on my shirt, and luckily I got another one. So that I mean, I got a that was okay out of it.
Yeah. But you didn't get another ice. You got another ice cream. You didn't have another shirt was the problem.
That was the problem.
Everyone's
That was
filming
the
as they're
problem.
walking by, and you're like,
That's why I threw
no.
on my sweater as soon as I got back. Oh man, yeah, Motorama was a blast. I got to thank Paz Pro Painting for being the presenting sponsor of the podcast all weekend long. Uh, Went in with 5 shows, ended up doing 7.5.
No, I
Half
think it
be
was eight
no,
plus.
no, 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 7.5 because I'm not because that full one with Wally wasn't a full hour, wasn't a full 50 minutes. So I'm counting that as at a half because once we got the podcasters, the slot car race done, we moved back over the stage. And by the time we got up and chatted with him for we got only maybe 30 minutes to 20 minutes with him.
Yeah, but you
So I'm
fill
not
that in
counting
with
that as
what
a
we
full
were
one.
on the Wild World of Motorsports.
I'm not.
Eight.
No, I don't think it's 8. I still think 7.5,
7 3/4. We'll meet in the
seven
middle.
and three quarters. Uh, uh, what was the reaction like for your car? You actually picked up an award for the best appearance modified. I know there was only one, but
I mean,
to be fair,
there was a couple open wheel cars there that I
there's a
wasn't sure
couple
if I
of
was going
little
to go
cars,
against.
but you picked up the car. You picked up the award. How's that feel for you though, bud?
Um, it's great because the sponsor's really happy. That's the first time he's had a car in a show with a relatively new business, and the biggest thing was fun was squeezing people in the car and having guys like Dave from the Rust Brothers, I think it was, checking it out with electronic steering and stuff like that. And they're like, "What's the steering of?" I'm like, "A Prius." And half of them like, "What's a Prius?" I'm like, "My kind of people." But we
We
didn't
had
get Chip Foose over the car though.
yeah, unfortunately. You had Bryce Turner, our cameraman, jump into the car. We had James Jordan jump in the car. You had Damon jump in the car. Um, who is the most entertaining for you to watch get in and out of that car?
So there was a guy from Canada Heads Up, one of the bike guys,
Yep.
never gotten in a race car in his life. He just hops a wheel, leg over the wheel, and yeah, it was solid 20 minutes to get him in the car. Like he just and like he was skinny too. Like he was
Yeah.
like
He should
skinny,
have slid
skinny.
right in there.
Yeah, and I'm like, it's not that hard. And like, or then I can think back to like the Glenn Stires video that's posted online. I'm like, well, you know what? Maybe it is harder than it looks, but
That's because it's you guys, right? Like that's the difference is that you know what to do. If someone doesn't know exactly how to get into a car like that, it looks a little different.
oh, there was one guy that tried to go in head first on last weekend too. I'm like, that's not
Was
going
it
to work,
really?
bud. Yeah, I'm like,
Yeah,
that's
Bryce
not going to
did.
work.
No, James
No,
did.
no, there was another person that actually
Oh
tried.
yeah.
Like, yeah, that like
Oh boy.
pull out was like legs hanging out. I'm like, that's not how this works. But
Oh, that's awesome. Uh, we're we're gonna be joined by Tim Tolton here in just a couple minutes. Tim is the one of the tech guys up at Full Throttle Motor Speedway, but also drives the number 3 Oscar Sportsman Series car for Black Magic
Ontario
Racing.
sportsman
What did I say?
Oscar.
Oh, Ontario Sportsman Series. Sorry, guys. Man, there's so many O's last weekend. I started saying Ontario. I said it off-road racing, Ontario. I'm still tired from last weekend.
I know, I'm just not
I'm still
commenting on
putting
what
in
I was
lots
going to
of work
comment on.
behind the scenes here. Shut up. Uh,
If you ever see those TikToks where it's like you have that one friend who's like, "Shut up, I'm that friend."
yeah. Uh, but no, we're lucky to have Tim Tolton join us. Tim actually was hovered around the stage when we had Ken Mercer on from the Pro 4 mod. Oh, from the
Southern Ontario
Southern
modifieds.
Ontario. I'm so used to calling them the Pro 4s. Okay, I'm
I
sorry. I'm sorry.
I
I
know, I'm
I
just helping you out, brother.
they've been like the Soma mods for like 2 years now. I've always known them for like 15 years as the Pro 4 mods. Sorry.
Pro Force had 5 cars. Somo mods have 20 cars.
You're not wrong. But Tim actually competed with the Soma mods way back when. He gave us a little insight on that. Hopefully this time, because we got him on for a full episode, we're gonna find out some more about him, how he got involved in racing, um, how you guys were able to jump. You were able to jump into one of their cars last year up at Full Throttle, um, to raise some money for the what was it, Center Wellington Special
Special
Olympics?
Olympics. Yep.
Yeah. So we're gonna talk about that. We're gonna find out what his plans are, how he knows Norm Betting, because that's a pretty cool deal he's got going on there, where he
Yeah.
goes and
Crew
helps out
chief for Norman betting in some races.
crew chief. Oh, see, that's fun. We're
So
gonna.
he crew chief for Talladega, made all the calls on top of the box, kept Norm out of some sticky situations, and sometimes Tim doesn't get told he's crew chiefing until Norm starts going.
um, well, the time is here. I think we're gonna have a quick word from our presenting sponsor, Driving with Haley, and then we will bring in Mr. Tim Tolton.
The Intimidator.
Joining us this week in our newly branded DJD Graphics presented by DJD Gear guest segment, we are being joined by the Intimidator, Tim Tolton. Tim, how's it going, man?
Good, good. Thanks for letting me join you tonight.
No problem. We're excited to have you, because I was meaning to get you on actually as the first guest, and I completely forgot that I had promised you that back last year when I was looking for a guest. And but we got you on 3 episodes in. We had you up on stage at Motorama, which was a lot of fun. But how's your off season been going, and how was Motorama for you?
Well, off season hasn't been very good. The weather hasn't been very cooperative for me to get stuff done that I need to, but it's looking better now. So maybe we can start getting things rolling a little better.
What are your plans looking like for the 2025 season?
Hoping to do as much as I can with the Ontario Sportsman Series. I love the series and like to be involved in it because of other commitments. I can't always make it to the races, but I like having my car there for to boost the car count at least that little bit.
That's
Have we
understandable.
finished talking to Norm about driving that number 3 yet, or
No, it's I've been trying for 2 years to get a date. He says he wants to do it, but can never commit to a certain date. So I told him this year that I was going to give him the date, but he laughed at me. So I don't know.
just go down, grab him by the ear, and pull him back over the border?
Yeah, yeah, he keeps telling me he's going to do it. So he enjoyed it last time he did
Hey, tell him either he drives your car or you get to drive his truck.
it. No, I won't be doing that.
I, yeah. So Tim, obviously John's having a couple computer issues here, but so I'm going to ask here. You've driven the Ontario Sportsman Series. Unfortunately, Donna's car had a little bit of wreck last year. Have you looked at replacing Donna's car for this year, or have you found one yet? Or
I bought another car that didn't have a motor in it. That's the same thing, so I can transfer the good parts over from the wreck car. And realize it when I got it, but didn't take long to figure that out. So we'll put it in a more solid candidate.
yeah, I was going to say I didn't dent it too badly when I drove it,
No,
but
no, not at all.
but yeah. So you're gonna have another Nissan for Donna to drive, and now you got a couple of races under your belt to help tune that up. So obviously you like working on race cars. Do you like working on the wife's car, or you like working on your car a little bit more?
It doesn't really matter. I don't always enjoy working on them, but it has to be done. Uh, but it doesn't really matter what car it is, and I also help other people out with stuff when I can.
Yeah. The way I look at it when I'm working on my stuff, if I'm improving the car and making it faster, it's enjoyable. If I'm fixing wreck stuff, it's a pain in the butt.
It's true. It's so true.
But yeah, so obviously, is she going to race most of the season there at full throttle, or
Whenever her work schedule allows it, and we'll have other people in the car when she's not available. And we've got plans for other cars. I was hoping to have a more solid car count by now, but you know, historically we've never been early starters and preparing for the upcoming season. So I'm sure we'll get through it.
yeah, I was gonna say half the guys build the car at the track the first night. I've almost noticed up there.
It happens sometimes. Not a good idea, but yeah, there's been some crunch times for various drivers.
Are you back, John?
Yeah, I'm back. I'm sorry about that. This may be a continuation. I don't know what the hell's going on. I may have to get myself a new USB hub here. 'Cause that's gonna be frustrating if that's gonna continue on all night long. But I don't know what I missed a little bit back there as I was trying to deal with some technical issues on my end. Um,
I basically asked him about working on his wife's car, his car, you know,
all right,
the the
perfect.
the, the new Nissan. I left all the hard questions for you, buddy.
Perfect. So we want to get started here back at where you got involved in racing. So you've been racing for 40 plus years. How did you get into racing? And yeah, let's find out. How did you get into racing?
Well, it's kind of funny. I have a very vague memory from back when I was a kid that my aunt took me to Flamborough Speedway. Very vague. I couldn't tell you who was racing. I couldn't tell you how much I enjoyed it, but I do remember the event happening. And then from there on, stock car racing really wasn't a part of my life at all. I didn't know what it was or anything like that. And then my brother became the mobile welder at Flamborough Speedway, and I went with him one night and found it pretty interesting. So then started looking into it more and found out about endurance races and started in on that. And then it just became an addiction later on.
I
I'm
That
just
mean,
was
jealous that there
way
was a
back in
mobile welder.
1984. Sorry
Yeah,
about that.
yeah, I'm just jealous that there was a mobile welder back then.
Yeah, it was a thing back then. And he did it for a short time and it just kind of faded away. And I don't know. I was kind of surprised that they had such a thing too, but he was busy on race nights running from race car to race car and doing small welding jobs.
I think we need to bring that back because like I know there's been a bunch of time like you're in the pits like oh we need a welder and like oh can you come weld this for me? I'm like no you said you needed the welder.
Yeah, yeah. Well, times have changed too, and we've got little portable 110-volt welders that, maybe not ideal, but it'll get you through a night. And so there's not as much need for a service like that as there was once upon a time there was.
I was about to say, I'm like Steve Murdoch with the 42 team. They have a little portable welder that they have at the track every single week. So in case someone does need something, there's been a bunch of different guys who have come down and asked either to borrow it or to they brought their car down and they welded it up for them. And it's nice to have, but like you're right, like it's such a tough thing that not a lot of people are able to have something like that at the track. Even though I'm sure a lot of people would be like, "That's a great service. That we should have that." But it's unfortunate, kind of one of those things. It's not. It'd be great to have when needed, but it's not always needed.
Yeah, well, the person doing the welding is probably more needed than the welding equipment itself. I
Yeah,
always have a welder in my trailer and a generator that will properly run it. But like I said, it may get you through a night. It's not going to maybe be 100% what you want, but as racers, we do whatever we can to get through a race night.
I don't know. That
Absolutely.
welder was 100% when we welded that sensor back together.
It works good most of the time, but you have to be patient with it. Let
Yeah.
it build some heat. You can't rush the job, or it won't be a good weld.
Yeah.
I'm actually like it was fun to use that welder because like you had to like literally like go old school and kind of like do your motions nice and slow passes. And I'm like, well, let's hope this ball joint stays in, and it did.
It did.
That's all that matters. Uh, but racing in the enduros, iRacing wheel just shifted on the floor. If you guys heard that, um, going back to the endurance races, uh, obviously they've from 1984 to now they've completely changed. What was endurance racing like back in the day? Like what was it like?
Well, yeah, the cars are completely different now. The enduros that do happen are four-cylinder cars, V6s. Back then, it was big
Big
Monte
V8s.
Carlos and
Yeah.
Chevelles. And my first race car was a 1975, I think it was, Cadillac Coupe de Ville. Yeah. Why? That's what I was
Because
offered.
race car,
It
that's
was
why.
probably $50.
Yeah. Yeah. 472 cubic inches of go not very fast, but it was an easy car to drive. Just cruised around Flamborough Speedway like it was nothing.
Yeah, the suspension would have been great now. It would have just been like woo woo.
Oh, it was a smooth ride.
I'm looking at pictures
The
right
things we've
now
learned over the years.
I'm looking at the pictures right now of
Do you
like
have a
what the
picture of
car.
that car, Tim?
Hmm?
Do you have a picture of that Cadillac somewhere?
Somewhere, but I'm not sure offhand.
All right, when you find it, you have to send it to us.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there's definitely pictures of it there.
that is awesome.
That one ran quite a few races, but it had a problem. Every time somebody bumped me harder than normal, the car would quit and it wouldn't start again. And I'd bail out of the car during a red flag, and then every time I'd go back to the car after the race was over, get in it, and it would fire right up and drive off. So eventually, I just got rid of the car. I couldn't do that race after race anymore.
It didn't like being roughed around too much. It was a Cadillac.
Yeah, yeah, it was a big car.
That's all.
So I gotta ask, starting in enduros, have you ever like driven a car to the track and then back home?
No, I haven't done that personally. Mine was always towed by the guy who got me started in racing, Big Bad Bob, uh, my brother's father-in-law at the time. He ended up getting involved with my racing a lot and ended up being the towing service at Barney Speedway for many years. Uh,
So
well, a funny story about the endurance race. I started out in endurance racing and ended up in late model and didn't change classes once. That's the evolution of race cars. It's crazy. Like, how do you get from an endurance car to a late model? That doesn't seem like a very likely path, but that's the way it went. I went from endurance racing to I did Flamborough was the first track I ever raced at, and I did a bunch of enduros there. Then I heard about Varney Speedway and thought, oh, I'll go take a look at that, and ran some there. Then they started a class. It was a weekly series for endurance cars, and that got me more into it. Then it went to street stock. Then it went to super street stock. Then it went to Challenger, and eventually late model.
oh wow, that's
All
a
I can
quite
think
an
of right
evolution.
now is could you imagine if there was a Cadillac freaking late model?
There has been, hasn't there?
Well, there's
Yes.
Tyler Junkin's late model, but that I'm talking about like
Yeah,
big
not the
chrome
same.
bumper late model.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, that thing had massive bumpers on it. I didn't use them though.
I know someone who's building a Chrysler 300 to race in the V8 stock class down at Delaware. And the progress has been quite interesting to watch. So I'm hoping it looks good when it hits the track, but that might be an interesting visual as well, as similar to like watching a Cadillac hit out on the racetrack.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
but for you jumping from like obviously going from
Well, out
endurance,
at Peterborough, Tyler Junkin has that super stock, like actual Cadillac CTS.
yeah,
Like it's a full out. He gutted it. It's a full floor, everything CTS as a super stock, and it's cool because it's one of those things that like no one else is going to do it. Someone had to. So
that's it. That's pretty cool. But going from enduros and moving through into late models, and obviously even moving through the years here, obviously going into late models and then jumping into it. What was your path, obviously, to get to the Ontario Sportsman Series? Did you just all of a sudden just look at it and go like, "That's a car I want to drive. I want to get into it." What's the path been like for you to get to there?
Actually, that started out with a good friend of mine, Scott Marvin. He uh, the Cast Car Sportsman Series. When NASCAR bought Cast Car, they dropped the Sportsman Series. So anybody that was involved in the Sportsman Series was left with,
With
they were
nothing.
left homeless. So, so the Ontario Sportsman Series was put together as a place for those cars to still compete because they weren't of the caliber of the National Touring Series,
Yeah,
obviously. And NASCAR also changed a lot of rules that would require some pretty serious upgrades to the cars. So the Ontario Sportsman Series was born, and I went with him. He had a car; it was an old cast car that he bought that he was going to run as a late model. And then he heard about this, so we went to the original meeting for the series and to learn about it. And he ended up joining, and he raced for a year, and I helped him a little bit. And then after that, I made an agreement to be his crew chief to get him, try to help him out and get him rolling a little bit better. He didn't have a lot of help at the time, and his plan was for me to be his crew chief, and then eventually I would drive it, and he would be my crew chief. But in one of the races during the season that I was his crew chief, he fell sick between the 250 lap races, and he asked me to drive it for him. It was at Delaware, and something happened at the front of the field, and two cars got together, and I came off of turn four, just doing what I normally do. And at Delaware, you come around that pit wall,
yep.
and you don't know what's on the other side. And I found out what was on the other side. All I saw was my rad run up my windshield. I had no idea what I was even hitting.
Oh
So his
man.
car ended up in the garage for a couple years. And while we were doing that, we talked about, wish Barney would have a race, and that would be nice, and we'd like to take part in that. And then while it was sitting in his garage in a wrecked form, uh, Barney got a race with the OSS. So I called him and I said, "Hey, can I borrow your car?" And he said, "What are you talking about? Your car is way better than mine," because I had an actual late model at the time. And I said, "Well, we always said if there was a race at Varney, we wanted to go and do it. And they're having one." He said, "Well, yeah, sure, you can borrow my car." And then after a bit of talking, he decided that he thought that I should run it the whole season. If you're going to fix it and put it back together, I'd like you to run the whole season. So we did. We did that. And then at the end of the season, his wife didn't want him to be a race car owner for some reason. And he offered it to me at an incredible deal, and I couldn't say no. And then I became a regular in the Ontario Sportsman Series.
That's awesome. See that it's stories like that that really realize like kind of what the racing community is about, and not even that, but like how interesting getting into the sport is. You said you showed up with you at a very young age, don't really remember much, went back with your brother years later, the bug kind of got bit there, and then you worked your way, racing different classes and whatnot and then eventually running the Ontario Sportsman Series. Now the car that he sold to you, that's not the same car that you're running now, is it?
No, that's actually, you're probably familiar with my Studebaker hot rod. That
Yep.
is the original car.
Oh,
It
wow.
was converted to a hot rod. So it's still active. It's still going. It's not the fastest car out there, but
But it
That's because
looks like
Nathan
it's
keeps
wonderful.
creating a
breaking.
lot of fun for people.
It's a
Yeah,
really
that's
nice
because
looking
it's
car.
right. And what color is that officially? Because when I had Nathan on last time, he kept messing the color up.
Okay, the uh, pink that people call it is actually Tahiti coral, and I had that combined with black originally, and then I thought, we did that for a couple of years. It's time for a change. So I started looking at more original colors of that model of car, and there was a greenish color, which I'm not a fan of. I really don't like green at all. And there was blue, which I do like, and it was called Bahama Blue. So I went to my sponsor at the time and got some, see about getting some paint mixed up, and they couldn't totally match that color. They couldn't find a mixed code for it or anything. So I gave them pictures, and they looked at it, and they came up with something that's ironically called Car Blue. So we went with that. And it is very close to the period correct color for that car. They never made the two-tone, but I put them together anyway.
That's all. It still looks great. Like I love the fact that you took two two different colors that the car would have ran, back when it was just driving around the regular streets and combine them for the racetrack. I think I like it when you're able to do stuff like that. And the hot rod class is the class to do that with too. Don't make it funky. Just keep it simple, keep it old school style. And I like the fact that that's what you guys did essentially. Though it's two tone, not like it would be, but I like the fact that you guys did that. So, um, for you, I do want to know kind of, we've seen you head off down to the States to go help a buddy of yours named Norm Benning. Uh, how we kind of talked about it, I think, a little bit last week on the stage at Motorama. But how did you two guys really meet? How did you guys form a friendship where he goes, "Hey, I'm gonna run. All right, I'll be there." How did that happen?
Well, that was kind of an unlikely situation too. I saw on Facebook. I don't remember who it was at the time, but somebody posted, that this guy's coming up to Canada to race, and he relies on volunteers, and he's shorthanded. Would anybody be willing to help? And I volunteered and got connected with him, and I went to the race, and he had a regular guy that traveled with him at the time that raced modifieds down in Florida, and he, I kind of worked well with him. He said, "Well, I want you to be my carrier. I change front tires, and I need you to carry for me. Would you do that?" And we did, and we worked together. And Norm really seemed to take a liking to me right off the bat because of my, you know, I guess my abilities and my knowledge, and he wanted me to go and help him more. And that fellow that was a regular with him wasn't anymore. And when he came up the next year, I got more involved with him. And actually, I went down to his place in Pennsylvania and helped him prepare a couple times when I had some free time. And then he always bugged me. He wanted me to go to other races. We're going to Bristol, or we're going to Martinsville. Can you come? And it was always no, I can't. I can do this one. Maybe in the future I can do more. And then later on we did it. I went to Daytona. I went to Eldora. I went to uh, Bristol Dirt, Martinsville, Talladega, and we've gotten along great and became good friends. And many times I went down just to help him in his shop and, straighten up, organize, and do prep work on the trucks.
See, that's pretty cool. See, like it's stuff like again, it's cool that that friendship formed and you guys were able to, you know, you're able to go help him out. And you're what's been the coolest race for you that you've helped him out at that where you were crewing for him? What was the best one that you can think of?
Oh, well, I mean, it's hard to separate a best one, but one that really that I was really shocked about, and I had no idea. But we went to Talladega, and he handed me his information package, and he said, "I need you to read this. I need you to know what's scheduled. Make sure I'm there on time. I'm going to rely on you to make sure that I know what's going on. So make sure you read it all and learn it and memorize it." So I sat down and started reading it. He said, "What are you doing?" I said, "Well, I'm memorizing all this stuff." He said, "Well, we got a truck to get ready." So, so I had to set that aside, and we were working on the truck. He said, "Well, what time is the drivers' meeting?" I said, "I don't know. I didn't get a chance to check it, but I can go check the schedule." So I did. And incidentally, it was up in like 20 minutes. So I told him, and he said, "Okay, well, are you ready?" And I said, "Ready for what?" He said, "Well, you're my crew chief. We have to go to the meeting, the driver and crew chief meetings." Okay. It was a bit of a surprise. In that race, I didn't have a position, an over the wall position. I was the guy up on the pit box.
Yeah.
That one, I guess, would be my most. I had no idea that was coming. No idea. I never expected him to put that much faith in me. And I'll tell you what a stressful job, because he ended up losing the draft and went down a lap, and then he came in for the regular pit stop, and he had a hired gas man, and we did the pit stop, and then the gas man had a disappointed look on his face, and I said, "What's wrong?" And he said, "I don't think I got it all in." So then all of a sudden my whole world changed. Now I have to decide, do we keep him out there, get his lap back, and back in a position to be competitive and run out of gas, or do I bring him in, make sure we don't run out of gas? And I chose to bring him back in and make sure it was full. And then I doubted myself for the rest of the race. And then after the race, I told him about it. I said, I think I made a mistake. And he said, "Well," he said, "if I had got back on the lead lap at that time," he said, "that big one that happened?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "I would have been in that one." Right. So that took the pressure off. And he told me that I didn't make the wrong choice, but I didn't know what to do. I was a rookie. I had no idea this was happening, and it happened, and I had to make this, crazy decision. What do I do? I have no idea. How much gas is he going to use? I don't know.
You were thrown in last minute. You're being told
Yeah.
to read a pamphlet. You're being told to work on the truck. You can't be in two places at once. And next thing you know, he's like, "You're up on the box today."
Yeah. But
You
what a
didn't prepare for
shocking
that.
surprise. It made my day, because, I mean,
Oh yeah.
obviously he's putting faith in me.
And that's one thing that would be a cool story to tell is that you got to be on the pit box calling a NASCAR race, the NASCAR Truck Series race. Not a lot of people can say that. And you were just thrown into it. Like
Oh,
it's a hell of a story.
yeah. And I've done a lot of things in my life that people will never have an opportunity to do. I consider myself extremely fortunate
Yeah.
for the things I've been able to do through the years, and things that I've accomplished that, most people wouldn't even think that's a possibility, and I've been able to do it. So appreciative for everybody all through those 40 plus years, everybody who's helped me, my family for supporting me and not being too grumpy all the time, um, accepting me when I am grumpy during a race, because I'll tell you, I'm not an easy person to deal with when things aren't going my way. And I know that, but there's nothing I can do to stop it. And that's another reason why I think I connected well with Norm, is because he's very similar.
Yeah.
Um, there's a reaction, and a lot of races after the race is over, I'll apologize for the way I acted. But if I have a problem and I come into the pits and the hood gets opened and everybody's standing there not knowing what to do, I get I get so frustrated because I want to be out there finding out what's going on, and I feel like nothing's happening. I know they're doing what they can, but I don't take that part of it very well at all. The
Yeah.
driving, to me, the driving is a breeze. People say, "How did you get through that?" And I don't know. I just did it.
Close
You
my eyes
have
and
to
hope for
have
the
instinct.
best.
You have to just be able to do it. Trust what you're doing. You don't get time to think about anything. You just, you know, you're either going to be able to or you're not going to be able to. And then sometimes you can't do it. And those are bad days.
And
But
unfortunately, that happens from time to time.
it does. It does. But all in all, there's I got to say there's more good days than bad days.
Yeah.
So I gotta ask you a question, Tim. Of all the cars you've owned and driven, which one do you miss the most?
Oh, I miss them all. um, at one time, most of my cars were built by me. There wasn't that many that I actually bought. And I at one time I did sell them, but they always turned to disappointment. And now people ask me about buying my cars, and I just say no. I'm not. They're not for sale. I can't see it going, and uh, me being disappointed with you know it's further in life. I don't take that very well. Not that not that I'm better than anybody else in any way. It's just that I've seen the disappointment. Like that car, I loved that car, and it always performed well for me. We worked good together, and then I see, well, one, I sold it and said, okay, there's a little kink in the frame. Don't worry about it. It's good. Um, the car's been way better ever since. It's not going to hurt it in any way. And then the next year, when I'm expecting to see it go racing again, where's the car? Oh, I cut it up because it had a little kink in the frame. So I can't do that. So I just don't let the cars out of my possession anymore, or I make sure that they're done, cut them up. You know,
That's
not a good
understandable.
way to be, but I
Eh,
just can't take the disappointment.
that's understandable. Um, as we continue on here, I want to jump into our Tailor to You meeting design fan question period. Earlier today, we put out there on social media that you were going to be joining us, and we got one question, but it's divided between two people. So Zach Lynch on Facebook and William underscore Trillium on Instagram, both have asked the same question, and that is, what is your favorite racing memory?
Oh, now, now you're getting into a real hard question.
Oh,
There's so many of them. I
well,
can't pick a favorite. There's a bunch of special moments, things that I didn't think that were going to happen, things like that. But there's no real big. I mean, my first win, I don't remember it. I got a picture of it. I know that was my first win. I know the car, but I don't remember it. Everybody says you never forget your first one. I forgot. Um, my first OSS win was special, of course. Uh, one year I raced at Peterborough Speedway instead of my normal Barney Speedway, and we were off one night, and I thought, well, let's take a trip back to our old track and see what we can do. No intentions of winning at all, and I pulled off the win. People were saying, "Oh, go out there and win." I said, "Don't even think like that because it's not going to happen. You're going to be disappointed." And somehow we got the win. We had to start last because we weren't a regular, and ended up first at the end of the night.
That was
Um,
in the Vanilla
uh,
Gorilla, wasn't it?
the which one?
That was in the Vanilla Gorilla.
No, no, that was my late model,
Oh.
my second late model. The Vanilla Gorilla was never actually my car. I got it, and I was going to make a race car out of it. It was a Nissan 240, but my son ended up making a race car out of it, and he raced on the dirt and had a unfortunate incident, and just the car was completely destroyed. It didn't. It didn't even get through a season.
Oh, jeez.
Which was the one that you raced, the 240 that you raced on in Peterborough and all that stuff?
He ended up with that one. That's what I did after late model just became too much for me. I couldn't keep doing it, and I thought mini stock would be cheaper. It ended up I was wrong, but yeah, I raced mini stock for years, and then I actually needed a motor for my OSS car, and my son wanted the mini stock, so we made a deal. We ended up with the mini stock, and it's still out there somewhere. The last I know of it was running in the timed races at Sauble, but now that they don't do that anymore, I'm not sure what the car's up to. But it's out there somewhere.
Hmm. That'll be interesting to see if we can find it. That'd be a cool little. So if anyone knows who has Tim's old 240 SX, that it'd be great to see who has it. I'm
And
kind of
what it
curious
looks
if it was
like
Sean.
now.
I'm kind of curious. Was that Sean Taylor maybe?
No,
I wonder if that's the one Goodfellow has now, or
Oh,
Pendlebury.
it was the herds that had it, and I think he still does, but I don't think he's racing. But I'm not 100% sure.
okay.
And then as far as other my most memorable moment, I don't know. I can't. I really
It's so
can't pick a
hard.
favorite. I've had so many. I've enjoyed my entire racing. I won't call it a career because you don't do it for a living, but my
Yeah.
entire time in racing, I've enjoyed all of it. I've had so many good moments, met
Yeah,
so
because
many good.
when people get into racing, you don't get into it to make a living. You want to just burn money.
Oh yeah,
You have too much money to burn. You instead of just burning it, you're just like, why not go have some fun with it?
It'd be
that's
cheaper to
right.
burn it.
Yeah, yeah. That's a valid point too.
You'd burn it, you're done with it. But then you take a car racing, then if something happens, then you gotta spend more money to fix it. So you can burn more money.
Oh man. Well, that is our tailored to you meeting design fan question period. Of course, we got to thank everyone who submits the questions. Make sure you guys tune in every Sunday at roughly noon to see who next week's guest will be. I'm trying to get a little ahead of myself sometimes and start announcing who the person's going to be, but I forgot to do that with Tim, and I'm sorry about that. This week's I find the 2 weeks leading up to Motorama and the week after are just absolutely hectic for me. Now that I'm finally been able to sit down, relax for a week, and just kind of update a few things, I got a renewed sense, and we're gonna kick butt this year. Like the show's gonna kick butt. Final year, we're gonna kick ass all year. I'm not caring anymore. We're gonna continue having fun all year long. Tim Tolton is gonna be one of our drivers. Who's gonna be did I even get you your stickers?
Not yet, not
God
yet. But
damn it!
You
right
also
now
didn't
the
get
car's
Tim to
not
sign the
ready to
boards,
put
I
them
don't
on
think.
anyway.
And I think Tim signed the boards.
Did you sign the
Yeah,
cornhole boards,
yeah,
Tim?
yeah. I was
Okay.
one of the first.
Yeah, he
Yeah,
signed.
when
Yeah,
I
he's.
got the surprise interview at the show, I was walking past, and hey, there he is. Come on up here. We're going to talk to you.
So I want to continue that conversation actually. So last weekend we had Ken Mercer on at the 11 o'clock time slot for our interviews at Motorama. You just so happened to be walking by, and we heard some things that you were a former competitor of the division, and you had disappeared after we let Ken go, which we were very disappointed about because I thought you would have hung around. And then you try to sneak by us again. That didn't work out for you that time. And we dragged you up on stage. Not willingly, we willingly dragged you up on stage because you came up voluntarily and
Oh,
chatted
I
with
was
us for a
happy
bit.
that you invited me.
And you got to tell us a little bit about what it's like racing with the Soma mods. Um, I want to know, how did you get involved? I can't remember if we talked about it last week or not, but how did you get involved with that division?
We did. It was through a friend somehow that I ended up being a substitute driver for an injured driver. He had a couple other drivers in it, and he wanted me to give it a try. And his good friend liked what he saw in me, and he decided to buy a car that didn't have a motor. Asked me if I would put a motor in it, and and drive it for him. And we made that deal, and we did quite well for the short time that we were in it. But it ended up that I actually did too well, and the guy that I originally filled in for didn't like how well I was doing, and we ended up dissolving the partnership and moved on to something else. But they're neat cars to drive. I really enjoyed it. They're pretty quick, and
Yeah.
they don't. Everybody thinks, oh, four cylinder, that can't be very fast. They get up pretty good. There's
They're
no slouch. They're a lot faster than a mini stock.
That's why they're dubbed the fastest four-cylinder class.
So you bring that up where
Yeah. I think that's pretty safe to say. I mean, the one that I drove as a fill-in driver, the original one, I'd never driven anything like that before that. And then I did drive one of their cars after that before the one that I was supposed to drive was ready. And I don't know, I really enjoyed it. I really did. They're, no slouch for horsepower. You think four cylinder, or that can be. The first one I drove was actually it had an aluminum Arca head 2.3. That thing made crazy power, just crazy power.
Oh man.
And I ended up building a motor, did a lot of the work myself, and that thing was very competitive with that one that I thought would be impossible to beat.
Sorry, Fiend. I think I cut you off earlier. Did you want to add something there?
you kind of covered it over when you came back in. So
Oh, what did I cut out on your end?
yeah, you cut it completely, and then you started talking. I'm like, I figure you're having issues again.
No, I was talking on my end. I was
So
fine.
yeah. So Tim, I got a question for you now that I think about it. We've all done as racers, we've all driven stuff that, sometimes what's the dumbest car you've driven and not the Cadillac?
Oh, not the Cadillac. I don't know. I think that was the dumbest one, but it was what was available at the time. Other than that, oh, well, yeah, my wife, I built her a woman on wheels car back when that class was a thing, and women did their own racing. They weren't so much involved in the other races. They were six-cylinder cars rather than V8s, and I was doing well in the points, and I blew a motor up, and she let me borrow her car, and I ran this six-cylinder straight six slant six actually in with the V8. It was a little embarrassing maybe.
But you had fun though.
I did, and it got me the points that I was looking for. I mean, I didn't win, but I got the valuable points towards the championship, right? I don't remember whether I did get the championship or not. Couldn't tell you now, but it definitely helped me keep me in the game.
Dumb ideas are always fun.
Yeah, yeah.
Now, with all the classes you've run, is there a class that you haven't run that you would love to run?
Yeah. We talked about this on the stage at Motorama. Super late model is definitely at the top of the list, but I think I'll just leave that as a dream. And Legend Car is another one that I haven't driven. I've never been too interested in dirt racing. You know, might might get an urge to try that someday. I don't know.
It's
But
more
yeah,
fun than it
I've run
looks.
in a lot of classes. A
Oh
lot.
yeah. See, and I know we talked about some of this stuff at Motorama, and now that we're on I'll call it the bigger show, I guess, because you that interview with you is going to come out a little bit later, because that's almost the end of my that's the end of my like marathon of shows of our marathon of shows at Motorama.
Okay.
Um,
Spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert for anyone who wasn't at Motorama, you're gonna hear this again when we re-air our when we had Ken Mercer and we dragged up Tim Tolton onto the stage. He answered some of these same questions. So spoiler alert, sorry. Um,
You should have been at Motorama.
should have been a Motorama. You guys would have heard it live firsthand right up front if you guys were there. But no, you guys didn't want to come out. That's on you. Uh,
And now we need Tim to drive the slot car race against us next year.
yeah,
Oh, not good at that.
No one's good at that.
no one's good.
Okay.
Trust me, I
Well,
Wally flipped.
twice.
oh,
No,
he
that
didn't
was
learn time?
that was Keaton Pipe.
Oh right, Keen also flipped.
Wally flipped coming to the checkered.
Yeah,
Did he win?
No, he
no,
had it in the bag and he
Didn't
flipped
win on his
one
route?
by.
no.
That's no good. You got to win on your route.
Oh, we can have Tim versus Donna.
Oh, that would be a good one. I'm trying to talk to Greg to see if we can set up like a 20 maybe 30 driver slot car event at yesterday's Speedway booth. I think it'd be a lot of fun to get a mix of media personalities, drivers involved. Come on out. Especially on the Saturday when we already make a time slot of an hour, so that way it gives us enough time to get all the racing in. Make it a bracket style. Everyone has to pick a number, and that's how we set up orders. We're not going to do champions or anything like that. Just pick a number or pull a number, and then that's how we're going to set up the board. And we're going to go head to head. Losers obviously out. Semifinals, and then we're going to do we would do like the third and fourth driver to figure out who's actually third and fourth, and then first and second. I think that would be a fair battle if we get about. We'd figure it out that we have to figure out the structure to get down from X amount of drivers down to
I
a
think
decent
32
amount.
is what we need. 32,
I think 32.
16,
Yeah,
yeah,
something like that. We'll figure this out.
8,
But
4, 2.
if
You got a whole year
Greg
to figure it out.
if Greg and Inside Track and Motorama guys want this to happen, we will make this happen, and I'm sure we can get a number of people. I just pulled together, for the most part, we pulled together about 8 people in a matter of 5 minutes to make this happen. So, no telling what we could make happen in a year,
Right? Especially if we get told we're allowed to.
especially if we get told we're allowed to. Because the past years, they're all been impromptu, they're all last minute. It's because there's been a time slot available that we've just taken. And we've done this event 2 years in a row. It's been fun. It needs to become an annual thing, but this time we need to get more drivers involved. Get them out there. Get them. We had a huge crowd too,
Well, that's because we were giving away free jerky.
and we gave away free jerky. Thanks to Nathaniel Greenaway, we appreciate him all weekend long for supplying us with jerky because that was some good jerky. Did you ever get any of it, Tim, or no?
No, I'm not a fan of jerky. He did
Neither
offer
am
it.
I. I've never eaten it until that day.
Yeah.
And he came up on stage. He cracked open a bag. Cam and I tried a piece. I'm like, I think I bought two more that day. I think I bought 2 each day that I was there.
Yeah,
And now you like jerky.
And now I like jerky, but
No,
only
we like this jerky.
we like this jerky
Oh.
because
So
it tastes
it's
like
not like-
bacon.
Yeah, and it's like soft like bacon. It's not like super hard where you break your teeth.
Yeah, so it was really good stuff. But yeah, I got to give a big shout out to Nathaniel Greenway for supplying us with jerky all weekend long.
So just if you want some jerky when you're running OSS, just run into him a couple times and be like,
Yeah, he'll have some jerky. That's all you got to do is go up and ask him. Continuing on here though, I do want to know how are you the head of tech or are you just one of the tech guys at Full Throttle?
I was the tech guy. Now
Okay.
I'm race director and tech supervisor.
How did you get started at Full Throttle? How did you get into doing tech into becoming a race director at the track?
It actually started out as a joke. It was,
I love this
The wife-
already.
the wife of the track owner was joking about it. You should be our tech guy. And the conversation went on from there, and I ended up, agreeing to do it when I was available. And then
Yeah.
eventually it became I race when I'm available because it became my main priority.
Yeah.
I didn't think it would end up going that way, but it did. And You know, I care so much about the track. I care about all tracks actually,
Yeah.
and it's important to keep the tracks that we have because it's not like you can just say, "Oh, I'm going to open a racetrack."
Yep.
Right? So the ones that we have are special. They're precious. We need them all to keep on going
You
as
got
long
that
as
right.
and that's the one that I made my home. I mentioned earlier that my first race was at Flamborough Speedway
Yeah.
in second and third and so on. And it wasn't for a couple years after I started that I made my first trip to Barney. I really liked it and I became a regular there. Other than, one year I ran Barney and Salva full time and I made that one season at Peterborough Speedway. But other than that, it's been my home. So I've concentrated everything there. But
Yeah.
I really do care about the entire racing community. It's important. We gotta, you know, the older crowd are going to be going away, and we need the
Yep.
younger crowd to come in and keep things active. So we really have to concentrate on bringing, new blood in to as racers and as fans, and create more interest in it. Get those stands packed again. You look at pictures from back in the '70s, and it's incredible.
Oh yeah.
I
It's
don't think
remarkable.
that'll ever happen again, but we need to get closer to.
I think we can get there, and I think, you know, with guys like myself, Cam K, with Stickers and Scuffs, we're all, and even the drivers of today, we're all taking a renewed sense of, you know, crap, like we're racing for this many people, X amount of people, let's say 600 people in the grandstands. We want to, a lot of us have seen those grandstands packed. Flamborough back in the 90s, you had to show up probably at 2 o'clock to get a good seat for the 6 o'clock show that night. And I think we can get there, but I think it's also trying to get out to the public where everyone's now is getting into quote unquote communities, right? We got this racing community. We got there's the baseball community, football community. We got to figure out how to bridge the gap into all these different communities and even our local communities as well, because sometimes people move to the area and have no clue about it. They only know of NASCAR. They don't know that there's local short track racing in their backyard. And that's another problem too. Is if they don't know about it, how are we supposed to get them out there?
Right.
And that's one of the reasons why I love Merrittville Speedway for doing the Penn Center shows, bringing the cars out during March break. What a better way when some parents are off, kids are going throughout the mall, than to have a bunch of race cars there and have to showcase your track. And a lot of places do this, and it's harder for tracks like Full Throttle to do because you're in a very secluded area for the most part, but you also have a very loyal fan base who comes out week after week,
Oh yeah,
drivers and fans, which is phenomenal. But now we need to continue that more. And I think
right.
drivers who run Full Throttle, I've noticed that they're the ones who really get into also doing the Santa Claus parades to showcase their tracks, their cars. And first off, I love it when I see cars into Santa Claus parades because I've been to one when David Ellie got the Pennzoil sponsorship, and that was the coolest experience I ever got to see. Was Scott. Oh, which it was him, Gary, David Elliott, Gary Elliott, and I think Scott. I want to say Scott Lyons in the 52 late model, or would that have been Steve? Damn it.
Oh, now you got me wondering.
I don't remember these people.
It would, but it was the 52. I know it was 52, and I know it was the Lions driving it.
I remember that.
But
Yeah.
the three of them drove throughout Waterdown.
Mhm.
5 minutes from 10 minutes roughly from the track, and you were doing Santa Claus parades. Now I don't even know if any tracks or even if the track does the Waterdown parade, but I'm all in on trying to get out there and get these new people into the sport to check it out. Like we have phenomenal backgrounds, and we're not what people think we are. And that's the other thing too, is they think we're all hillbillies and rednecks. We got lawyers, we got doctors, we got psychiatrists. We're not all just hillbilly mechanics. Some people have a degree, or some people who race growing up now have a degree. Look at Cole Pern, right? Like
Mhm.
I'm just pointing him out because I know he did a Western. He did engineering. I think it was Western or Waterloo, one of the two. And he went to NASCAR.
Yeah.
Dude, we
You go
need to
like
get
Ryan
this
Newman
out,
in that case. He's
right? Like we need to bridge this gap, and I think the new people who are coming in also have to try and pull their friends and be like, hey, I got to check this out. You guys should come check it out too. Not even every week, just come out once a week, or not once a week, but once a month even.
It's been years since I went in a parade. I used to do fall fair parades all the
Yeah,
time, and another thing too is displaying cars or tracks having displays at other things like home shows
yep,
or stuff like that. And I've been involved in things like that in the past too, but nothing in this century.
yeah,
I'm talking back in the 80s and 90s.
yeah,
It was a regular thing, and the car shows are great, but you're kind of preaching to the choir, right? It's tracks trying to fight over the same fans that were already fans, but
yep,
you go to other shows and you're bringing people in that stock car racing. What's that? Um, and so stuff like that, instead of directing it at the people who already know about it, look out, think outside of the box. Go to
yeah.
events that you would attract new people.
Hell, this hat today that I'm wearing, I picked up today at the Toronto Sportsman Show. And the
Yeah.
only it's a hat company in Barrie that puts all these hats together, including the patches. It was a Whiskey Road Hat Company or something like. It was Whiskey Road, but I'm walking by and all of a sudden I see the yellow, red, and blue, and I'm like, I gotta go take a look. I'm a hat guy, first of all. I got like 3 dozen hats back there in my closet. I had to go take a look. Sure enough, it's I'm like, this is me. And I called Jacqueline over and I go, "Hun, look at this." She goes, "Oh." I'm like, "I'm in trouble." She goes, "You're getting it, aren't you?" I'm like, "Yeah, I am." But it's such even Brandon asked, how did you get a NASCAR hat, quote unquote
Yeah.
NASCAR hat, at a sportsman show? Well, they went outside the box because none of their
Right.
displays or hats on display that you could buy had anything to do with hunting or fishing.
Right.
It was all Ford,
Yeah.
Budweiser, Coors Light. Like it had nothing to do with the show. But
Mhm.
well, I mean, beer kind of goes with hunting and fishing
you're not
nowadays.
wrong. But there was no like
And
I'm.
racing. Yeah.
There was nothing like gone fishing or gone hunting hats that I saw. It was all hats like this with a patch, and it was like Budweiser, uh, but Bush Latte. Like it was just random hat stuff. But you know what? They made a sale. I got a new hat, and it's gonna be my podcast hat for the year. And
You'll have a new hat in a month.
probably wouldn't surprise me. I like hats. I don't know what to tell you. But that's what we need to do is you're right. You need to get out to these home shows. Like every town has some sort of home show or a community event that you can get behind. Or like get in touch with your local hockey team. If you got like a junior A or junior C team or whatever, get in touch with them. See if you can. I saw on TikTok the other day. There was a guy who had who
A
took his
street
dirt
stock.
car, street stock, took it out on the ice for during intermission.
Oh.
Just n didn't drift the damn thing, but he took it for a slow lap around the ice. But
Mm.
how cool would something like that be? Like obviously you can't take like a super stock because it's got slicks. It's just gonna not go anywhere. But
I mean, it might if you air them down low enough.
Maybe. But how cool would it be to see something like that and then they come out and they talk to you about racing at your local short track? There's tons of opportunities, there's tons of avenues, and I really hope teams and uh not even race teams, but track owners and promoters, they start looking at these other avenues as well, or we're really going to start losing tracks here over the next few years. In my opinion, you could tell me if I'm wrong, Tim. I'm just,
No, no, it's always. I think it's on everybody's mind.
yeah,
And of course, there's always the crazy rumors going around. Oh, that track's closing, that track's closing. Um, we had to deal with that a bit this winter. It's crazy, but the track that I'm a regular at, it's alive and well, and there's no intentions of shutting that place down, none whatsoever. But the
that's
rumor got
good.
out there, and people were questioning it, and people were reluctant. All of a sudden, that you know, don't to everybody out there, don't start rumors like that because it's all negative. It's not needed. You start good rumors about the racing community, not bad
Yeah.
ones.
Yeah. Or start funny ones like Joe Mo's OnlyFans.
Oh boy, this is not going to be good throughout the
Uh-oh.
year now.
That took a rapid turn.
That took a turn,
Hard
eh?
left.
It usually does. Hey,
But
real fast, real left.
yeah, but Tim, it's been an absolute pleasure again to chat with you for the last little bit. We're gonna have to get you back on at a later date, hopefully before the end of the year. Would love to chat with you some more, especially when race season gets going, about how your year's been going. Um, but before we let you go, is there anyone you would like to thank who's helped you out over the years? Any sponsors? Anyone you want to thank? You have the floor for the next couple minutes.
Well, I, again, I can't pick anybody specific. There's been so much help over all these years, lots of years, many helpers, some real long-term engines from Hal has been behind me since almost since he opened his business. And not just in doing my work for me, but I could call him after hours, and um, he was always there for me. It didn't matter. He pulled all nighters with me when I was trying to put my son's first late model together and put the motor in it, and we ran into problems. He was there the entire night, right, right through till the sun came up. But my family, there's just way too many people to thank. Like I mentioned earlier, I'm so thankful for all the opportunities I've had, the ones that I took, the ones that I was given, every one of them. It's just, I have no regrets in my life. I've done things that many haven't, and I'm so thankful for it.
Sounds good. Well, where can they find you and your team on social media?
Uh, I'm most active on Facebook, Black Magic Racing. If there's more than one out there, apparently. I I've had that team name for many years, and there's other ones that popped up. So I've told people to look for me, and they say, "Well, that doesn't look like you." Well, that's because it's not. But my familiar three cars on there, and our logo. Not everybody's going to be familiar with that, but that one's a giveaway. I'm on Twitter, but not overly active on that, and Instagram again. That's even less. But we're out there. We got, I think, on Facebook we got around 4,000 followers.
Wow, that's awesome. That's always a good. That's a good thing to have a healthy Facebook page like that, to have that many the followers on the page. So make sure you guys go follow Black Magic Racing. We're going to leave a link down in the comment section on, well, I guess on all podcast platforms and on YouTube. You guys are going to be able to see it there. Um, Good luck this season. Good luck to your team. Well, obviously, we'll be following you guys because, of course, you're a part of a Joe Media family this year. So we're excited to work with you. We'll be in touch, obviously, because we got to do all year. So
Got to get it all
um,
together.
exactly right. And of course, I got to get your stickers out to you now. 'Cause I dropped the ball on that one last weekend.
Yeah.
Every time we were walking,
I'm not ready on
grab
that. I'm not ready for that. So,
it.
All I'm hearing is road trip.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
We'll probably make it happen this year. But thank you so much, Tim, for taking the time out of your night to chat with us, and good luck this year.
Thank you for having me, and sorry for getting off track on all your questions. I ended up leading them
Oh,
into a different land every
it
time.
we love it.
It's
They don't want to hear us. They want to hear you. That's why they listen to us. They want to hear the guest, not me and Brandon.
they wanted to hear us.
Appreciate it, guys.
See you, Tim.
Thank you.
All right, and we're back from our conversation with Tim Tolton. Tim was an absolute blast to chat to. Getting to know him some more. It's funny how a lot of his stories was a friend of a friend of a friend. That's how he got involved in racing. That's how he got into OSS. That's how a lot of his racing opportunities came about, and it was pretty cool. And I didn't know how he got involved with Full Throttle a part of the tech, but I love the fact that it started off as a joke
Right? And like that's what I kind of love him. Like I'm realizing I need more friends like Tim friends.
because of it's a friend of a friend of a friend.
Right? He's got to
Yeah.
drive a lot of cool stuff. I'm like, I just need to make a friend of a friend that has a super late model.
Right? That's all you need. But honestly, again, and no, Tim has done a lot of things, and we barely even scratched the surface tonight. And I hope we get him back on before the end of the year, before we close up shop. Um, buddy, I want to know though, how do you feel about us shutting down the show at the end of the year? I kind of want to know your opinions on it.
I mean, like it's kind of less stressful because as we know, like I had mine. It's a lot of backdoor stuff that you got to do to keep the podcast running, and it's a lot of work, and people don't realize that. And like, sure, we take 2-3 hours out of our day to record, but then you're looking for guests and you're looking for sponsors and people covering the finances to keep your computer and stuff running. And yeah, it's a lot of work. So I get it, and like I said, I shut mine down because a lot of hypocrisy and criticism that I just didn't need anymore. So, and then like,
Yeah.
man, yeah, it's gonna be sad when we close down, but it's gonna be a hell of a party until we get there.
Yeah, I'm trying to talk to a few people, and if who I'm able to get on as the final guest, I think it will break any views we've ever had on any video.
I gotta
But
do a
we'll
whole
see if I
episode
even
by
get there.
myself. God damn it.
You wish. No, I do hope we can get to this point where I can get this specific guest on, and if we're able to, it's gonna be an absolute party. That's it's gonna be a hoot. I'm a hope I'm gonna keep working hard at it to make it happen. But um, yeah, you're right. It's been so stressful with how many drivers we have this year. I've been wanting to focus more on the promotion stuff, and I think the podcast in general in Ontario, it is in such a good space than it was 5 years ago when I was looking at creating this show and putting this into motion. There is such a different atmosphere now, and it's not that I'm going to say goodbye forever to this show. It is that I'm going to say see you later because I do want to bring it back, and I'm just hoping that I will be in a better place personally and where I can really make the show what I really wanted it to be. Because I thought I'd be in a much different place than I am right now in terms of how we're doing the show. That hasn't happened. So I think I need to take a step back and, like I said, focus on Joe and Media, focus on our promotions, and dig deep. And, like I said, hopefully in a couple years, come back and it be exactly where the show I wanted to be. It will be there, and I want to work towards it. So I'm upset because I love doing this, but my Sunday nights are gonna look a hell of a lot different come next year.
I
And
can see getting a phone call like, hey, we got this guy. He wants to do odd. I can see that happening.
I'm not okay. That's the thing is we're not going to do a show every week. I may jump on. We may jump on. I may say like, hey, you want to jump on for 30 minutes? I don't know what it's going to look like next year, and it may just be the point of just reaching out to you, be like, hey, let's just go on talk some crap in the middle of the race season for 30 minutes, or you know, let's say one of our drivers goes on a hell of a run. Hey, man, let's jump on. Let's talk for a little bit. How's the run been going? Like, you're not really getting the interviews. Let's talk about it, right? So we'll see. But full time for sure. Joe Media is not producing any podcasts next year. The odd time, maybe. We'll see. Like I said, it's just for right now, it's I want to get to a different place, and really want to focus on our promotions next year and the teams we got this year because we're running four social medias for we're running Sutcliffe Brothers, TC Racing, LLB Racing, and Burrows Racing, and there's possibly a fifth one going to be added to that actually. Not saying who because we'll see. But yeah.
Paperwork.
No, no. Technically paperwork's been signed, just can't say anything.
Oh, well, la
Because
di da.
it's a different paperwork, so it's but we'll see. Um Brandon, you we'll talk next week about your the mini stock and how it's coming along. We'll spend the opening segment talking about that next week. I think I'm still getting over the Motorama high just a little bit because especially with going back through all the content we got, it's I still get to relive it for the most part.
Still got that little rasp in there.
I still got a little bit of rasp, still overcoming some. Hopefully trying to make the Dr. Pepper freaking help, but it's hasn't been. I've drinking 3 cases this week.
I know, but you gotta have the full sugar. Like
Yeah, that's probably what
the
it is.
sugar coats the throat, and you're fine.
Um, yeah, we'll see. But let's have a good week. We'll see you guys next week. Who do we got going on next week, actually?
I believe it's Halbert.
Is it Corey?
I believe so.
I have, man, I'm screwing this up tonight. Sorry, everybody. Where did my drive?
Because I believe
No,
irony enough.
it's not by Alan Jackson. I can tell you that much.
I
Yeah, you're
believe
right.
yeah,
Yeah,
I was gonna say like the next few weeks was like all like beefy drivers or people I drove for last
yeah,
year.
yeah. We got Corey Halbert and then possibly Cole Burrows on March 30th. Uh, we're recording with Andy Jankowiak on April 2nd. Then we got
Remind me
Mike.
to remind him that week
Yeah,
too. He's got a new podcast out too.
because the reason, and we're recording midweek on that one, and that's because that's my anniversary that weekend. And I've already promised Jacqueline that we're going back to the Cambridge Mill for our first anniversary.
Was that where the
So
wedding was?
that's where the wedding was, yeah. So we're gonna go back there we're gonna
Okay,
take the kids
sorry.
back to Guelph, then we're gonna go there for dinner. And but yeah, we've got a great list. I talked to some of the guys at Motorama. I think I need to actually rearrange something because I think I scheduled somebody and I haven't put him in my list yet. So there will be some changes after Andy J. Um, actually after Mike Norris because Mike Norris will follow Andy J. and on April 13th, which is the recording date. So we'll have to see. May have to move some things around, but I'm excited. And of course, we got Corby Daniels, Beef from Dirt Beers, gonna be joining us. That's gonna be fun.
I just thought it was hilarious that we had at the Motorama we had Jonathan and Beef and Beefy.
Right, that was awesome. Then we got Robbie Sykes and then the Ontario Off Road Racing Crew in May. So um, I'm hoping to get to one of those events because those got my Jacqueline loved it. I think my kids would love it. I think it's going to be a great time. And of course, meeting Kyle D'Souza and Hayden Smith, those guys were pretty cool to chat with over the course of the weekend. Um, yeah, I'm looking for. We got a great lineup so far. But if you're looking interested in me and a guest on the True North Racing podcast in the future, this is the final season, so you got to get in on this now. So reach out to me or Brandon. We'll get you set up, and
It's the
like I said,
final countdown.
literally. So, but we're gonna get out of here for the night. For Brandon Feeney, I'm John Morrison. Thank you guys for tuning in to the True North Racing Podcast presented by Driving with Haley. Everyone, have a great day, great week. We'll see you guys next week. Bye now.
Peace out.
Thanks for tuning in to the True North Racing Podcast. Be sure to follow us on social media for more racing content and updates. You can find Jomo Media and Promotions on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and at jomomedia.ca. Until next time, keep your engines running and your belts tight.